Can everybody stand, please? I'm a two upon a tier. Sawek tu emet empana tier. Au duama. And the translation is thus.
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself in God daily. And may tomorrow be as today.
We give homage
To the
Creator, who is like our Father and our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot conceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Netzarah, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner plains, and the light of our lives, who shines the light for us as the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and holiness balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light, for those who are blind to the facts of their place, position, and responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, to the thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in the months of crisis and the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down.
So it is, so shall it be.
Ma'akaru.
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 Have a seat. And all right. Today, I would like to, this teaching is on legacy building. This is something that we don't talk about, we don't think about. It's important that we work on these type of things, building a legacy in our culture. And it's only appropriate because of what my name means that I picked this. Armin Cow and Ma'at. The one who keeps the tradition of the ancestors with correct measures. Now, how do we get traditions from the ancestors? How did the ancestors create these traditions that we have? It's through legacy building. In order to have traditions, it has to be created. And when you create a legacy for our people to go by, to pass on down to our generations, that becomes our tradition because we carry it forward. We stay to it. So I'm the one enlisted to make sure that we stay in line with our traditions based on the legacy that was created for us. Now, legacy was created from, way back 2,000 years. But does that mean that we practice the same legacy that was created for us back then in tradition? Now, not all so. If you remember, the Sitz often states that we are Reconstructionists. He never says that we go directly by the book. I mean, we stay in course with the book in line, but we have to make some modifications, some changes that would fit and suit us in this time. All right? Because you're not going to be able to do the things traditionally that we did 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. It just won't work in this day and time. So that's where legacy building comes in. Because right here and right now, what we have in place here in the Kemetic temples, the Temple of Anu, is legacy building. To make it become an institution will be our legacy. If we don't, it'll fall apart, it'll fall to dust. That's why it's important that everyone do their part in what they bring. When we got started, he asked me, what will be my contribution to the legacy? I told him, I don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't thought of something. So now I know why he asked me that question. Because it's the legacy that we build in this tradition that's going to be carried on for the next 1,000 years. Right? Either we create a legacy to be carried on, or it's going to fall to dust. Right? So, as many of the early Kemetic temples here in America was forming and rising up, they fell apart, for whatever reasons. But the legacy wasn't put in place so that we can keep the tradition going. Those members of those temples, didn't create a solid foundation to build a legacy on. So I ask you, each and every one of you, what will be your legacy to yourself, to your children, to your community? E. Curtsy? You don't have to answer that. Just think about it. Beck Suet? Think about it. What are we doing here in life at this time, at this point, nature? Why was I born in 1959? Why couldn't I be born in 1979? Why did I come through my mother's sacred womb to be here in this time? Because I had a purpose, I had a job that needed to be done by the ancestors. And if I don't know it now at 65, then I'm in trouble. Something's wrong with me. Something's definitely wrong with me up here, right? I should know, and I should be on the road to building a legacy for my people, my community, my children. And we have to find out why we're here at the times that we're here. Why we were sent here through these sacred wombs at the time. I know why I'm here, and I'm fulfilling my purpose for being here in everything that I'm doing. And I do a lot that many of y'all don't know about. And I'm always thinking of things. And I would like to take you on a journey inside the mind of your Sir Shep, Armin Cow. Now, we're going to go back into time, into the 20th century, right after slavery, Reconstruction period, when we were just starting to get ourselves together, ex-slaves as people, and beginning to build our legacy. Because, remember, we were brought over here from wherever we came from, whether it be the Caribbean or Africa. We came here and we didn't bring our culture with us. We didn't put our culture together so that we can live and strive through it. So now, to this day, we're suffering because of it. And I'm going to show you how we're suffering. So, we're going to go back to the 20th century, Reconstruction. And I'm going to name you a couple of leaders, great leaders, that we may have forgotten about, but we need to recognize them. There were a lot of them, but I'm talking about the ones who dealt with, not with just philosophical words, like W.E.B. Du Bois, but action, movements out of their words. They had words and they did movements behind it, and what these movements did for our people. And I'm going to bring you up from the 1900s quickly to 1970. Keep that date in your mind, because that's when everything started going downhill for us as a people. 1970. That was the middle of the civil rights era. Ain't nothing civil about it. It was swivel rights, because we got swindled out of what we were supposed to be getting as rights. And in the middle of it, because that 20-year period from 60 to 80, right in the middle, 1970, something happened. And things started going downhill. We need to be reminded of what happened and what brought us to where we're at today. So we're going to start now with not taking away from the Harriet Tubmans or the Frederick Douglass. They did a lot. They did great things for us. And they had great philosophies. But I'm dealing with the movements, y'all. Movements where things happened, where we were progressing and moving forward in what we needed to do, and what we had to do as a people to sustain us for survival in this country that's not ours. We're in the house of exile. So we're going to start in 1856. This brother, coming out of slavery, by the name of Booker T. Washington. Y'all remember this brother?
Yes, sir.
Booker T. Washington, who had great words. He was the first. He was the first leader to mobilize a nationwide coalition of middle-class blacks, church leaders, white philanthropists, and politicians in America. Now, why I mention him is because he influenced these men who came behind him. So I have to give it to you in order. Instead of going front and back, I'm going to bring you all the way up to 1970. And these men and women followed each other's examples, each other's legacy that they built for our people, which brought us forward up to 1970. All right. So Booker T. Washington, y'all know him as the brother who actually took over what was known as Tuskegee Institute and made it Tuskegee University. Tuskegee named after the Tuskegee Indians or Native Americans. And Booker T. Washington knew how to go to the Europeans and get money from them to finance our efforts. Now, this became a problem to people like W.E.B. Du Bois and other people, other black leaders, because they're like, why you need to go to them? Why can't we do it? We didn't have no money. We're coming out of Reconstruction. Like, we got land and we need to keep this land. So we need money. But what people don't realize is that being that there was segregation back in that time, we had many white sympathizers. Not sympathizing because they felt that they wanted us to be free, but that we would be separated and keep us separated. Long as y'all stay over there and do your thing, you cool. We'll help you. We'll help you. And many of them from Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam, had an oil man hunt from Texas. They used to finance the nation. Nobody knew about it, you know, but he had that. Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell used to meet with white segregationists. Malcolm X met with the Grand Dragon, Rockwell. And people was like, why are you doing this? Because they would give us resources so that we could stay on that side of the tracks. And they said they didn't want integration, and neither did we. You know, we had no reason for it. We were doing well all by ourselves. That's one time sisters that y'all should use. I'll do better all by myself. We as a people will do better, not just individuals. Because I need y'all as well as I hope y'all need me. But I need y'all, so that's all that matters to me. But yeah, so Booker T. Washington, he set up on that campus. There was only 2 buildings at that time. He would bring Africans in to the school, register them. They would take classes, and then they would build campuses from there. He would have them go from education to building. And he based on economics, agriculture, the main things that science, that we don't study too much now. And this is what he was building as a legacy. He said, Tuskegee Institute will be a college of economics, agriculture, farming, labor. That's important to us. And this was financed by black dollars with a black educational system. Why I single out Tuskegee is because there's not too many other universities that we so-called black universities or HBCUs that's been done. When you look at the Hamptons, Howard University is named after a white general, Howard. Hampton, Fisk, named after generals from the Civil War. You know, look and find out where these names came from and what their purpose was. Even though some of them started schools for black people, the thing is, did we have control of those schools like we did at Tuskegee? And that's what was important. This is what the inspiration of this whole legacy is what drove a short but stout man. In 1887, he was born, coming out of St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica, by the name of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Marcus had seen what Booker T. Washington was doing. He saw that legacy that he built. He saw that we needed to follow that tradition. And that was the model. So Marcus came to meet Booker T, but Booker T died a month before Marcus got there, and he never got a chance to meet Booker T. Washington. But Marcus knew when he came here in 1915, he knew what he needed to do, because he started the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association. He began that in Jamaica. And then he came to Harlem and put that together in 1914. One God, one aim, one destiny, said Brother Marcus. This is the philosophy that these brothers came with. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Didn't we hear that before? We heard that in the song. And who performed that? Who wrote that in their song? Bob Marley. So you see that Bob Marley was even studying Brother Marcus. That his words are so powerful and strong that he put them into his songs. The song that he wrote called Redemption Song. The ends you serve that are selfish will take you no further than yourself. But the ends you serve that are for all in common will take you into eternity. Marcus Garvey philosophy. He took that philosophy and put it into the UNIA that he created here in Harlem. And he created the largest mass of black people out of Africa in the United States. Anyway, the largest mass of people that he was put together. He taught that control of resources, control of self, control of nation requires preparation. In order to do those things, you need to be prepared to do them. You're just not able to do them. Remember, we're in exile. We're in another man's land. He established the Pan-African movement. He started the first African identity and pride movement. I'm not talking about gay movement, gay pride, okay? No, we're talking about African pride. Right? In American history, that's right. Or black pride. So Marcus, amassing that amount of people and wealth and capital, built a great legacy for our people here in America. And up until once the government began to see what he was doing and how prosperous it was becoming for us, they set him up. And they put him in jail. And then they ended up deporting him. And the problem with that is that nobody really picked up the banner from him. They tried to, but once he was gone, it all fell apart. They deported him back to Jamaica, and then he went to England, London, and he tried to run the UNIA from there. And that's where the Pan-African movement started out of that in England through Brother Marcus Garvey. When you look across the continent of Africa, you'll see Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Thomas Sankara. Many of them followed the opinions and philosophies of Marcus Garvey. They said, that belongs over here. If it works for them over there, it's going to work for us here. And remember, at that time, the countries, African countries were colonized. So the first ones out of colonization was 1957, that they were gaining their freedom. But then the U.S. government stepped in again, the CIA. And right after Malcolm's assassination, they assassinated or removed from office at least 6 African heads of state, including Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and the other ones. So we have to be careful, because each one of them will tell you, U.S. government stepped in and it brought this to an end because of that. So Marcus ended up being in London, never made it back to Jamaica, and he ended up passing away in 1940. All right, so out of legacy building, out of Brother Marcus Garvey's efforts, a young short brother, 1897, from Sandersville, Georgia, by the name of Elijah Poole, who later changed his name to Elijah Muhammad, and created in 1930 the Lost Found Nation of Islam. Now, Elijah Muhammad was Garveyism. He was a Garveyite. And he, seeing what Marcus had done, seeing what Booker T. Washington had done, he kept in line with the tradition. And he created the Nation of Islam, the lost found Nation of Islam. Now, when I joined the Nation of Islam in 71, I joined it because I wanted to know my history, not that I really wanted to learn Islam, because they're such powerful brothers, seeing them in the streets. Like I tell people, I grew up in the streets. I didn't grow up in a home. I lived in a home, but I hung out in the streets. And I learned all my knowledge and everything from the streets. I learned to fight from the streets. That's why I'm such a fighter now. And I like fighting in the city. we always fight. But, it's just practice. And I joined the Nation in 1971. And until 75, when Elijah died, and his son, Warathin, took over and dismantled the Nation. And it fell apart, and it left us all straggling, wondering where to go, what we should do now. All right? But Elijah built the nation in the model that Marcus Garvey did. Marcus Garvey, of course, he was Christian. Marcus Garvey always taught, if your God don't look like you, give it back to him. All right? So Elijah came with Islam because he came through the Moorish temple science movement as well as Garveyism. And he used the cover of Islam to build this model that Marcus Garvey had put in place. And Elijah Muhammad said, stick to the truth. Even if the truth kills you, you can never trust hypocrites. They are liars. Do for self. Those are the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And with every temple that he had created, and we're going to get to Malcolm because Malcolm is the one that started many of these temples, each temple had a school with it. This is the model. The temple, a school, Clara Muhammad School, bakery and restaurant, and fish place. Had to be every temple. You had Temple 1 in Detroit, 2 Chicago, 12 Philadelphia, 25 Newark. Right. I can't remember all these temples. Boston, all the temples we created had those components with them and had to in order for it to work. Because it was important to him, it was important to Garvey that we educate our own children. Everything in nature educates their own. When you look from insect to animal, they educate their own. And they don't crossbreed. Crickets, grasshoppers of the same species, never crossbreed. They stay within their line. Because they believe that once you kill the line, then the traditions go. Even animals know better, and insects know better. But what have we done? We need to study. What do they have that on? Learning about animals and insects, National Geographic? Yeah. Something you can learn a lot of that on there. But you see the way, I'm driving my bus down the street, and what are those geese? That are walking in a straight line. And you got to stop and wait for them. They're like, I don't even think about hitting my, and they walking, and we got to sit there and watch them walk across the street and get the last one over there. But they stay in a straight line. When birds fly, they fly in a formation, of a triangular formation and stuff. Everything is information. Information? Once you have the information, then you get information. They know that. Why don't we? Let's move ahead. Malcolm X, 1925, from Omaha, Nebraska. Brother Malcolm said, I am for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it's for or against. Malcolm also said, without self-education, he didn't say education just from the universities, but without self-education, you are not going anywhere in this world. Anyway, Malcolm said that. Malcolm he put together 33 mosques under Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He started 33 mosques in 33 cities that had all those components together. Nation building, legacy building. Malcolm also created the OAAU, Organization of African American Unity, to link up with the OAU, which is the Organization of African Union in Africa. And he wanted us to link up so that we could start making trips. If you remember, Marcus Garvey said Africa for Africans. And Marcus Garvey also wanted to be the provisional leader in Africa once all the colonies, or all the countries gained their freedom. So Malcolm knew, following Garveyism, his father was a Garvey, his mother was a Garveyite. So he was a Garveyite. And he knew that this was the way. Even though he was in the Nation of Islam, Elijah didn't care for a lot of his outside antics, and which led to the separation. But Malcolm knew what had to be done, and he did it. Malcolm went to Africa. He made 3 trips there. They tried to kill him one time because they poisoned him. You know, one time he went to France, they wouldn't let him get off the plane to speak to a black organization there. African organization, actually. So, who is this that was after him? The CIA, U.S. government, again, the culprit of everything. Followed Malcolm all the way around until he came back home. Then they had him assassinated. Just before his assassination, Malcolm was about to go before the UN and indict the United States on human rights violations against the 22 million African Americans. He was about to have him indicted and get the support of the African nations, because he already went to Africa and began to meet with the heads of state and they told him that they would give his support. Plus, he was going for reparations. Malcolm said, to go to Washington, D.C. for reparations is like the wolf going to the fox. Right? We should not be going to D.C. for reparations. We should be going to the World Court. Right? Because reparations have to go to Africa and the Caribbean also. And that's not for us here. We wouldn't even know what to do with money here if we got the bulk of that money. But it starts with Africa and then the Caribbean and then here. So nobody picked up on what Malcolm was doing. There's people going for reparations, but they're here in Washington, D.C., begging for them and not receiving anything. We often here use that as a barometer, and when candidates run, we ask, do you support reparations? And they say, no. And we say, oh, well, okay, we'll vote for you anyway. Like, wait a minute, isn't that our principle, our standard? So if we don't get that checked off, then forget them. We move on to the next one. But we lower our standards. We have no principles in place. That's the only way these things can happen in our community. Principles. How do we get high? How do we get drunk? How do we start shooting up each other? no principles, no values, no standards. Who are you? What are you doing here? Anything goes in the African community. Anything. Now all this homosexual and gayism and stuff, anything goes. They're in the schools teaching the kids how to become a transvestite and stuff. And it's okay with us. We should be pulling our children out of them damn schools and educating ourselves like we're supposed to be. There's enough teachers here. I'm a teacher. I see Professor Dr. Alencia back there shaking her head. That's right. That's right. That's right. So, 1908, we have another brother coming in. Right here. Brother born in New Haven, Connecticut. I wonder if y'all recognize this brother. His name is Adam Clayton Powell. Don't just recognize the name. You recognize what this brother did when he was here. This brother started everything that Martin Luther King did, he was doing in the 40s. He became a congressman in Harlem in the 40s. Powerful congressman. Gave them white boys hell up there in Washington, D.C. Not like these congressmen today, the black caucus, dead people. He got a nerve to call himself caucuses. Caucus is dead meat. You know, you need to change that name. But Adam Clayton Powell also did something. He saw that he sat on two powerful committees, education and labor. We need, in our communities, education and we need work. Adam Clayton Powell said, if those store owners don't hire you, don't shop at them. Martin Luther King didn't do that. That was Adam Clayton Powell. Martin Luther King's not even on my list because he didn't have a movement behind his words. I'm dealing with brothers who have movement behind the words. Adam Clayton Powell said, listen to this now. We have produced a world of contented bodies and discontented minds. Can y'all make that out? Yeah. Contented bodies and discontented minds. He's the first black congressman from Harlem and the first black to chair the Labor and Education Committee. He was the leader of the early civil rights movement. That was, like I said, before Martin Luther King was a copy of what Adam Clayton Powell already started. So in Harlem, all those black businesses that you had in Harlem was a result of Adam Clayton Powell being there. He was like 6 or 7 terms, and he made sure all those stores owned up and down 125th Street, Lenox Avenue, Adam Clayton Powell, named after him, which is 8th Avenue, 6th Avenue. All of them were black-owned stores. What are they today, y'all? They're gone. Gone. And who took over Powell's place? Charlie Rangel. Stayed in office till he was 90 years old. And watched the gentrification just come right through 125th Street, right through Harlem, and take everything that we had in place. Adam Clayton Powell was a Baptist minister from Ebenezer Baptist Church. It's interesting because him and Martin Luther King said things about Christianity, but yet they were still Christians. This is what Adam Clayton Powell said. He said, I believe that Christianity in the U.S. has been dragging its feet. And I don't think there's any other force in America that has been more detrimental to the solution of our racial problems than Christianity. He said this about the religion that he was a member of. I didn't have no problem leaving in the 60s when I left to go to Islam. All right. Martin Luther King said something like that. I can't remember word for word what he said, but he said something against the church also. Legacy building. We move on. This young lady was born in 1920 in Roanoke, Virginia. Her name is Henrietta Lacks. Are y'all familiar with Sister Henrietta Lacks? Are y'all really familiar with Sister Henrietta Lacks? All right, let's see if y'all are. Now, this sister left a legacy that was discovered by the Europeans. Not by her, because she died in 1951 at the age of 31. She had 5 kids. She had cervical cancer. And the doctor down at Johns Hopkins University, they took a biopsy of her cells. They didn't help her any good because she ended up dying months later in October. But they had her cells. They had them in a plate. And they expected her cells to die within 2 days. You know, cells outside the body usually, deteriorates and dies. Her cells began multiplying and 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 multiplying. And y'all gotta understand why I just kept saying that. Okay? Her cells, they called it Helen Lane. So, reason why they called it Helen Lane, because it was a white woman's name, and they didn't want people to know that the cells came from a black woman. Once they got caught, they had to change it to Gila. The first 2 letters of the first name, second 2 letters of the last name, Gila. Gila cells. Gila cells became the first and only immortal human cell line to reproduce infinitely in a lab. Her cells are so unique, it has been used as artwork in museums. So you're going to take our body parts, our legacy, something that we have with us that can help cure us, and we allow them to place our legacy in the hands of Europeans. And we don't talk nothing about that. We don't say a damn thing about that. This is not in our conversations. It's not at your dinner tables. It's not in any communication do we talk about herself, how important they are, and how we need to get them back. Get them back. Because they belong to us. They're not theirs. So they keep her cells. In 1952, Gila cells were used. Another thing before I get to that. We went to the museum, coming back to this museum nonsense. We went to the Museum of Natural History last week. And with the first time chemical class, and I was upset. I was totally upset. Because, again, we see bodies. We see mummified bodies that's taken from Africa, put on display in this damn godforsaken country. for people to look at and be on. And we got to pay money to see that. We pay money to go in there and see that stuff. Something that belongs to us. But we don't think, where's your morality at? How come we don't see this stuff and be upset and speak about it? Them Arab Muslims should be told about what they're doing that's in violation of Islam, digging up bodies of dead people. And we don't talk about that either. Let's go back to HeLa cells. 1952, cells were used to test the polio vaccine that protected millions. Her cells provided the basis for AIDS, chemotherapy treatment, in vitro fertilization, gene mapping, y'all, anti-cancer drugs, and other medical discoveries. My mother died of cancer at 49. My father died of cancer. I had other people die of cancer. They've been studying cancer all these years, but they haven't found a cure. They did find a cure, but they use it for their people and not ours. Because we don't have our cells in our possession. I asked 2 doctor friends. One of them is a general surgeon. Kate knows him because he was watching you speak yesterday. I asked him, what do you know about the HeLa cells and are you studying? He paused. Automatically, that meant he's not doing nothing. When he had to pause to think about it, you ain't doing nothing. He's not saying, he said, you're right. I need to be looking into that. This is a doctor, PhD, general practitioner. Her cells have contributed to the development of polio and COVID-19 vaccine. Didn't we just get through COVID? Her cells was being used. But those vaccines didn't come our way. Her cells were commercialized and distributed globally for 2 decades without the family's knowledge. For 2 decades. Right. We're going to get to that part. And then in 1970, 74, they came because the doctors needed to know the source. He needed to know the source of these cells, where it came from, so that they can go get more. Or kill us at the source because they didn't want no more to be spread out and put in, according to them, the wrong hands, our hands. So they went to her 4 children, because one died at 15, and they lied to them and said, we need blood tests, for other reasons. And they, soon after that, they found out, because they kept questioning them, like, why? We didn't come to you. Why are you coming to us? We don't have no problem. No, none of us is sick. And then they had to tell them that your mother is carrying immortal cells. So, from the 70s, all the way up to August 1st, 2023. 3 of them died, so there's only 1 left of her children. And on August 1st, 2023, the family of Henrietta Lacks settled the lawsuit against Thermo Fisher Scientific, a biochemistry company that used and profited from her cells without the family's permission. They got millions, they had a gag order on the amount, but they received millions of dollars.
26 million.
Yeah, but this organization got billions of dollars from it. her cells was distributed globally to other European countries. Let's go up north. It ain't coming down south to Africa and the Caribbean. We're going up north, straight across to England, to France, to Germany, to Italy, Russia, and they distributed it to all of them. But they left out the southern countries, Africa, Caribbean, South America, Central America. They made sure none of them came down to them. And again, we don't say nothing about it. This is our DNA, y'all. This is our DNA. It has been discovered that we have DNA cells that are extraterrestrial, outside of the earth. And it's up to us to find out where it came from and who produces it. Not for them. We got to stop leaving. Now that we know that we're different, now we're not like them, now that we can begin our study. And you don't have to be a doctor to do it. I know Sister Kate is already on it. She better be, But the thing is that we need to widen our search in learning about ourselves. This is our legacy, y'all. This is part of our legacy. Y'all saw the movie Black Panther, right? What was the most important thing about Black Panther in their country? What was the most important thing to sustain that country? Vibranium. And they kept it what? Hidden from the outsiders. See? Because as soon as the outsider got a hold of it, the white guy, who the king's father, T'Challa's father, became friends with and gave it to him, what did he do? He weaponized it. He made it into a gun. He didn't try to heal his people with it or anything. He weaponized it. That's what they do. So, and what held that country together? What was the most important aspect in that country?
The ancestors. I would say the ancestors.
The ancestors, but I'm talking about tangible. What did they have in place? The science lab, y'all. The science. Remember, it was his sister that ran the science lab. And remember, he used to go to the lab. She made all the suits and everything. That's what sustained that country. Remember at the end of the movie when he came to America with his sister and he bought that apartment complex that his brother got killed in. He said, what did he say? That we were going to build there. We're going to build a science lab here. Science, y'all. Science is what sustains a community. If you don't have that science in place, you're not going to exist too much longer. And we come down to the last one. A young brother born in 1948. Legacy building. Young brother born in 1948. Chicago, Illinois. Actually, his family's from Louisiana, but they moved up to Illinois to find work during the migration. And Brother Majuti Ra know him very well. His name is Fred Hampton Sr. Fred Hampton said, you might run a liberator like Eldridge Cleaver out of the country, but you can't run the liberation out of the country. He said, you can run the liberator because Eldridge Cleaver, they went after him, the CIA, and he left to go to Africa. They ran him out, but Fred Hampton said, you can't run me out. Fred Hampton founded an anti-racist, anti-classist, rainbow coalition, multicultural political organization. Who do you know runs the Rainbow Coalition today? Jesse Jokesen. He got it from Fred Hampton. Because when Fred Hampton had the Rainbow Coalition, Jesse Jackson had Operation Push. Then when Fred was taken out, Jesse took over the Rainbow Coalition. The word of the coalition is stated that I am a what? No, that's Jesse Jackson. He said, I am a revolutionary. Fred Hampton said, okay. All right. Fred Hampton said, I am a revolutionary. All right. When Jesse Jackson took it over, he said, I am somebody. Okay. You see how he watered it down? You know, legacy building. Legacy tearing down. So, Black Panther, so the coalition that he had consisted of these organizations, the Black Panthers, the Young Patriots, the Young Lords, and the Blackstone Nations. He brought these coalitions together to work together. The Young Patriots were a white organization. He brought them together so that they can fight against the social process and stuff, not fight each other. And they took him out at the age of 21 years old, 1969. So why did they have to take him out? Because they knew how strong he was going to be. They're COINTELPRO. So we come up to 1970, because you were saying out 79. Remember I told you on 1970. What happened across the United States in 1970 in the black communities? Do you remember?
Drugs.
At the time of drugs, politically, what happened? In our communities, I mean. The Vietnam War actually started in late 1950s. In our community, they started electing mayors, black mayors, in large black towns. But still, 70, we started going downhill. Like you said, the drugs became rampant, the heroin, all the way to the 80s, the crack cocaine. See, that movement, that era of time was the Black Power movement. But Judy, Black Power. That was the Black Power movement. And once the government saw that we were coming into consciousness, coming into our African minds, and being able to see who was in front of us, they had to take action. And they had to start flooding our communities with drugs. As you see, the crack cocaine coming down in the 80s. That's when things started going down. Families separated. Anything that you can imagine that just caused deprimentation to the black community is after the 1970s when that stuff started coming downhill. We have to get back, y'all, to living with purpose and moral integrity. That is our path. Our path is correct. Our problems will be solved by us. And on Judgment Day, when asked by the ancestors who before us measured up, what did we do and what did we do with our lives? Let the record show we did what had to be done without exception. And we will do that. We live in purpose, integrity, and dignity. We have heart, we have courage, and we will not be denied. We receive lessons from the great ones. and learn from our mistakes. We made right things that were wrong. We were not wrong on things that were right. We fought hard for what mattered. We seized the moment to measure up. We ran a good race. We fought a good fight. We finished strong, and more, we did it with integrity. And in the end, we won when winning was in our hands. In this way, our children's futures will be assured. Do our answer. Everybody stand up, please. Left foot forward. And we say, Kemmunion.
Kemmunion.
Cross your arms. Dear Uncle Johnson.
Dear Uncle Johnson.
Open up, give energy. Bring your arms back. Remember, men right over left, ladies left over right. Bring them down slowly. Retract. That left foot in. Count of 3. Wa, Sanu, Sumek.
To everyone who joined us on Facebook and YouTube Live for today's communion, if you enjoyed this incredible message from our elder, Sir Chef Armin Kau, please send a donation via Cash App to $ Temple of Anu, or by PayPal or Zelle to templeofanu@gmail.com. We appreciate the reciprocity that you send to us for the energy, the lesson, and the message that you received today. We will see you all in 2 weeks at our next regularly scheduled communion. Kemmunion.